was that sexy lick you were playing before?
Which one? I can't do that part fast yet. That's basically it. But with those in between, so. I've noticed what I've been doing. I've been getting new songs by taking regular shapes from old songs and then going, what if I did it there?
Play it in a different key.
Just literally, yeah, because then I can reuse the same open notes and it just gives me a new mode, effectively. So it's been pretty useful.
Some fucking sexy ideas in that.
Yeah,
I was loving that.
There was quite a lot of them that I feel like I can proper jam to, but it takes a lot.
Yeah, I'll bet, man, I'll bet. Alright, me electrified, barely even touching the thing.
Yeah, there was some really cool shit though, what you do in some of the
Oh, like
timing.
continuous sort of flurry sort of stuff.
I like that sort of thing.
Yeah, I really... The struggle for me is to get it from sounding like a line that's just going off in the background that could be supportive to, say, a vocal line or something, to being a line in its own right, and it being a melody line. It's not just like a filler accompaniment line, but I still haven't quite got the hang of like how you transition a bunch of notes into being like a fucking melody. Apart from rests, I suppose. Long notes.
A lot of what I do that makes things a lot better, because obviously when you start, especially doing multiple stuff at once, it's you've got equal spacing between each notes because you're practicing keeping in time. But when I play things like, especially my older stuff, if I go back and just shift where the notes are next in comparison to each other, then there starts to be this kind of motion in my head.
Well, yeah, I think again it comes from this sort of development of an idea thing, and like once you've got scales in your head, it sometimes can be quite limiting because you think, right, I've got 7 notes, let's play all the 7 notes, and you're like, well, yeah, but
you have to choose
then you
which ones.
just put all the colour on the page, and so like, but then you go back to pentatonic and you think, it sounds pentatonic. I've been over these notes thousands of times.
I've been doing what you told me. I've started looking at different modes and stuff, and just trying to force myself into this not that stuff. This one's been interesting. It's been difficult to sort of practice.
Like that.
There we go. I can't believe that made it so much better. It's like the first one I could kind of do like proper Spanish guitar-y type shit.
Yeah.
It was just getting those down. I've been doing that sort of thing a lot. Climbing like this and realising, oh, it's around here that it stops working in this bass note. So I'm like, well, I want to force the shape. How do I force it? And I just go around looking for different bass notes. So one of
just
them,
about enough that can hang
just
on.
to force it
Yeah.
through. Like one I've been doing was but then it would be
Yeah, play that again. That works fine. There's nothing wrong about that.
no. I'd like to think it's not. My dad doesn't think it's that good in it, but
play the bit of singing. I want to know what chords you're playing.
an F, whatever this is.
That's a B flat -7 over F.
See, I don't know, but I like finding random shit.
Yeah.
What's that? Like not A, well,
A flat major 7.
A flat major 7, and then I don't ever use that. Never comes back.
Yeah.
That's where it should sound. But I forced it that first time just for the sake of it.
Wow.
And then I get lucky. Thing is,
So what essentially that on my ears pick up the first time. Play those chords again.
Yeah.
So when you're on that E note, it is functioning as some sort of 5 chord, like, because you're going to F minor, right? Next.
Yeah. I don't know.
From F minor 6.
Yeah. Thing is, I do a lot of weird stuff. Like in the beginning bit, it's all that, and then it goes. But then I do.
Is that F major? Is it?
I don't know.
F7 essentially.
Okay, because I go from major to minor then. Because then I'll leave it the next time I go. The G string, I just leave it open. And then it's the little.
Cheeky Hungarian minor in that.
Is it?
Well, Hungarian minor is essentially. You think of like the first
I know
5
that
notes.
it shouldn't. I know that shouldn't technically be in there.
Well, that's just harmonic minor. But it's the sharp 4 to the 5.
I like it. I've been really enjoying some of the weird shit I've been coming up with.
Or you could also justify it as just playing the note behind each F of the F minor chord. It's just E minor to F.
Because I'll tell you what, I've been noticing, the same ideas will reappear in different, different songs entirely in different keys, but the same core idea re-emerges. Like I showed you, but then I can't remember where it was. It was somewhere here. Something like that. Just the same ideas re-emerge. But I don't even. It could be the same key though. It could be the same mode. I mean, but in a different key.
Go on, play them chords then. So let's figure it out.
Actually, I just did this one today, and it's got to be like a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
Yeah. So do you know where that might go traditionally in my head? Because that's like a traditional sort of pop song, like almost like
I know,
it's Baccarat.
My first time kind of playing a
traditional format. Yeah. So let me sort of explain where chordally it would normally go or something, and see if that's where you would take it.
Yeah.
So play those chords again. I've got F6 essentially, D minor over F.
Yeah, there's a D in there. The D is the constant.
So F6 is D minor.
Okay.
So if you're playing D minor in F bass, same thing.
It is D. Yes, because I ended up finding my way into an old song that starts in D minor.
Yeah, because F would be FAC, D minor is FAD.
Okay.
So it's only one note different. So F6, D minor, same thing.
So
and then you go into
and then G.
G,
but with the D,
2.
that's gone up one. What is that? A to A sharp.
Yeah, G minor, fine.
So there's that.
C9. So that's acting as a 5 chord now. So you just got 1 2 5 1 2 5 1 there. So once you get back to the 1, that's a really nice repetitive loop. Yeah, that melody up at the top.
Yeah.
Where my ears want to take it is to F7 and then modulate to B flat.
Modulate. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So then
yeah.
Sorry, not E. E isn't that there. And then you'd probably find
There was a bit that hopefully you can explain to me. So it goes. There's a bit that goes. And then. We'll just go between these two. Felt like that was a sort of chorusy place.
But this is the thing, that it feels to me like it deserves much more treatment, more complexity. So if you to go between those chords and then to see where it might naturally go with like predictable chord patterns.
Yeah, A sharp.
Maybe even like a 1/4 from B flat to E flat.
Well, yeah, E flat might be left out.
And then you could even resolve back to G minor with an A chord.
What did now? Hold on. What are you doing there?
Now I'm back to F.
Okay, what did you do on the A stuff? Because that was good. I've been
So-
trying to find ways to get A and E involved.
Right, so think about it in terms of your chord numbers if you can. So you got your 2, 5, 1.
Right. Yeah.
F is your 1 chord.
Yeah.
But then we make it 1 flat 7. So essentially use that now as a 5 chord.
Yeah.
So then the 1 chord would be B flat, major 7 if you want, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then now if we're on 1, you can go to 4, which is E flat.
E flat can definitely have a place there somewhere.
I mean, that's also relative to C minor. That's a sort of 2 chord in that key. Even back to D minor, that's a chord in there. So that'd be 3. 4. I'm trying to avoid F as a 5 chord, really.
Because it's also a 1 earlier.
Yeah. So then if we jump down to A, where this then becomes
Oh, that's it.
chord 7 in the current key, which is B flat. So we chord A minor 7 flat 5, but then that is actually chord 2 in a resolve to G minor. So then D7 or what have you, which is your 5 chord to G minor. But your G minor is your setup chord to the C to get back to F.
Ah.
So
Yeah.
this is where you're thinking about switching chords for like dual personalities. So like when we had that chord 1 from F to then translate to B flat, it becomes a 5 chord by making it F7. Then it's a 1, 4, and then if that would be 7 technically in that key, but it's also chord 2 in the key of G minor. 5,
Yeah.
1,
really
but that's
am.
also being a 1, but it's also now being a 2, 5, 1 or whatever. So the clever harmony is predictable, but only because you chose it. Like you can't just make that shit up. You have to know the rules to sort of figure out where those keys can sort of go. But as long as you can just sort of think in terms of 2s, 5s and 1s, then you'll always get back somewhere. That is the resolution process.
I don't always take on board completely, especially the mode stuff, intervals, because I still struggle to know where the 1 key is for definite. Like when you're explaining going from the F major to F major 7 changes its position in the new key. That took a bit of, alright, fuck.
Right, okay. Well, I was going through this with my dad actually a bit ago before, to try and get him used to thinking about simple like Beatles style progressions with a capo. So it's like, well, you can hear C and F or what have you, but it's capoed on the 5th fret. So yeah, you're hearing C and F and everything, but you're actually playing G and C or whatever. So you're able to think C, F and G, but you're actually also able to think G, C and D at the same time in parallel. And it's that sort of thing of just same technique but with harmony. So as long as I'd start trying to put more chord type stuff. So like that chord is essentially C minor, but with an A bass note. Yeah, or you could refinger it and put the top A's as well. So that is a minor 7 flat 5 chord. And in the theory books that's a chord 7. There's no use as a chord 7. Because chord 7 doesn't really function anywhere, it's just next to the start note, isn't it? So the only reason why that's useful is if it functions as a 2 chord. So it's only a 2 chord in a minor key, because think of C, yeah? C is 1, 6 is A minor, so that's your relative minor key. So if we're in minor key, then 6 is essentially 1. Still with me?
No.
Okay, so C, 1,
Yeah.
F, G, 1, 4, 5, yeah?
Yeah.
A minor is 6.
Yeah. And then A minus 6.
So A minor 6. But it's only A minor as 6th chord in the key of C major.
Yeah, yeah.
So if we think of it as C and A minor are relatives, but we're still shining it as C major at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But if we made it A minor,
and we told that to be 1,
imagine that's 1,
right?
Roughly, vaguely.
Then C is
then
like
chord
a third.
6 is 1, 7 would be 2. So that's where you get this 2-5-1 relationship from.
Okay.
So the chord 2 in a minor key, if we're still working in the key of C, would be then B minor 7 flat 5 would be chord 7, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that'd be the one just before the one, which is C.
Yeah, so B minor 7 flat 5.
Is it this one?
That's B7.
Right,
It's
okay.
that one. Imagine B minor 7 but with everything 1 fret apart. 3 4 3 4 2 3 2 3 rather.
Oh, this one.
Yeah, it's got a dark quality to it.
I can hear where it should go.
Yeah. So it should always go to E, right?
Yeah.
Right, so this is where we find out where
And then F.
A minor after that, probably.
No, where is it? There it is. That's what I wanted to hear. The one.
A minor, right.
Yeah.
So we're gonna explain how that works, okay?
Yeah.
So while we're still thinking a little bit in the key of C major, D 2-5-1 would be D minor 7, G7 or G, and then C, and that's your major 2-5-1, and you could go to 4 after that. Yeah.
I feel like I've heard this before.
Well, yeah, but you're putting an E major in, and there's no justification of it at the moment. But when you're playing A minor as if it's the minor key of the song, so now instead of chord 6, that's 1.
Yeah.
But it still helps to think of it in 6 in occasions.
Okay.
So now, if A minor is 1, then B minor 7 flat
2.
5 is 2.
Yeah.
And then what would be the equivalent 5 chord would be E, which in this key is E minor, chord 3.
Oh, but I put major.
You put major because you wanted it to be, and it is that.
Yeah.
But how do you justify that? Well, because a 5 chord, for it to function as a 5 chord, must be major.
Oh. For it to be a 5
Because you
chord.
felt it as
Yeah.
a major chord.
Yeah, they just had to be.
It had to be.
Once I hear you, just hear it. It has to be.
It doesn't work with a minor chord. It's the wrong resolution.
So because we're treating the A minor as the 1 chord and the E has to function as the 5 in this instance.
If there's a 1 chord, to make it a minor key, the 5 chord has to be major. Which, if you're playing modally in Aeolian, mode 6.
Yeah.
There's no tension. So it's not a key, it's just modal. It's all the same tension everywhere. But once you put, you've got a G sharp in there, and that's all of a sudden where Aeolian becomes harmonic minor.
Yeah.
Because you've made G sharp, E minor, E major. And that's why it's harmonic minor, because it's harmony based.
But isn't that then like the 7 of the...
It's the 7th of A, yeah.
Yeah. So harmonic minor is a sharp 7?
Major 7, yeah.
Major, okay. Right, okay.
So
Because I
then,
know some of these other weird scales, like, they don't even I don't even recognise them when we talk about modes and stuff. Like, they just start.
well, yeah, but
getting
this is
far
where I
out.
find it useful to really know the ones that have a function. So like we said, that sort of 2 chord thing, it pulls you toward that B7 flat minor 7 flat 5 pulls you to E7. But then you've also got the treatment of how well, if you think of the 2 to the 5 as climbing up the roller coaster before it goes over, and you have the resolution, you've got your 1 chord wherever that may take you or what have you. The 1 chord never has to follow suit. So what you were doing then, you could do a deceptive resolution where you do the 2 and the 5. You don't go to 1. You go to D minor. That's not 1. That's 4 4 essentially, isn't it? So it's not about landing on the 1 so much, it's about the setup. It's the dig, the set from volleyball or whatever, the setup preparation of it. And then
There have been, at least, yeah, I feel what you're verbalising is sort of thing that I've experienced where I know that there are nice sort of things together, but I can't get to them straight away. I have to go through sort of like a...
is you could pretty much try and play a circular pattern of 2-5-1s. So start with that B minor 7 flat 5.
So that's a 2.
Go to 1.
5.
And then go 5 to, and then to A minor would be 1.
That's a 1.
Now you're going to use that chord as some 2 chord in a different key. So what
2.
key does that become? A minor is 2 in the key of...
well, A is a 2. Some G sort of thing.
Right, so then you want A minor
but minor 2...
Yeah, that's just a normal regular 2-5-1 major key. G major, yeah.
It's no. So those are the chords in
that's
the...
1, 2, 3, 4 in G,
So
yeah.
that means if this was a 2, a 5...
5 would be...
this thing, which I can't look backwards, so is it D?
Yeah, D7.
So it would... So...
But major, because 5 is always major.
Oh, yeah.
So that resolution is a very simplistic, polite resolution. The minor resolution is a nicer, darker resolution. But... so that's one way of doing it, where you take the 1 chord and make it a 2 chord. What we did before, you could change the chord type so that then if you've gone to the... you could then go, instead of from minor, just change it into a 7 chord, and then you're setting up the next chord will be a D chord of some kind because you played A7. It's signalling going, that's where I'm heading, yeah? So then is it major or is it minor? Probably minor in my head, sounds quite nice. Now the thing in my head
Yes, I can
goes...
hear it go to major straight.
and then you go to G, yeah. To C, yeah. And to F.
I
And
hear
then
that
it would
next.
be B flat if you keep going straight around the circle of fifths.
Wait, hold on.
You're essentially just going up a string from whatever root note you're on. Because if you made that connection, that if you're...
Yeah, I noticed this with Mr. Blue Sky. And I've been trying to... when I first saw the E flat, I was like, where the fuck did you come from?
Yeah.
Like, how the hell you turned up? But I struggle to use that when I know I should. Like in this one you were showing me earlier.
I mean, it's part of like power chord stuff. You know, the middle note's a fifth. So it's the 5 chord, isn't it? So if you got 1, then 5 is there. So
I have been using this sort of jump to the 5, just find the 5 as just a place to go, and it's been quite useful.
A place to sort of bounce off and come back.
Yeah.
And that's why I think like jazz in the sort of post-jazz pop era, like the 60s and what have you, where they're still consuming harmony and theory in a jazz capacity, but it's coming out as strummy. Until then, we've dumbed all that strummy down, and the Beatles have Oasis have redone the Beatles or what have you, and like as my dad describes it, it's just like, oh, it's just it is a not as in shit, but as if it's just shouting sort of thing over rocky Beatles chords. It's like, well, yeah, that's what it is. There's no real clever modulations in an Oasis song.
No.
Not like there are in Beatles songs, but it's got the essence of it. And then even from the 90s onwards, we've like dumbed that down even more. So now we've just got 2-bar loop. just loop that the whole song.
Yeah.
So to go back and keep making, I think the deception part of it is in it, in a sense that if I was to play, just make something up off the top of my head that sounds roughly jazzy-like in some way. Has got a point along the journey and it kind of plays its part, and you can follow it. You were playing along, you know where it's going, because I'm following the 2-5-1 2-5-1.
Yeah, I just hear it now.
But if you just play unrelated stuff, it sounds weird. And if I was to not resolve where you expect me to resolve every time, you should feel that I'm sort of going with the rug from under your feet or whatever. Like, first one, let's do the first one as it should expect, and then other ones will not resolve to the one chord.
That was the first idea, wasn't it?
This is not 2-5. This is just parallel chords. Here's a 2. Harder, isn't it? It's a lot harder to follow when it's like, oh no, you didn't go where I expected to go. And that's where I think you either respect the rules and give the person what they want and what you want as well, or do you intentionally just fucking scribble that dark thing into the page and go, what's that there for? I know.
Yeah, I like to do that. I just like fucking around with shit. I don't know why, but I feel like that most people hear the resolve stuff as much as they do anyway, so
might as well do something interesting.
I find it more memorable for my stuff, like the one, even though it's not really like doing anything silly with it because it's just using the 7, but when I do, I just
but you're still using it as a 5 chord.
I don't know what I'm doing.
You are. Every time you hit a 1 chord and hit the note just before it, you're implying the 5 chord over its 3rd bass note. So if you're playing the key of F, and that E that you play is implying that chord.
Yeah.
Or maybe a 7th chord, I don't know, but C major definitely. That's the weight behind it, even if you only hear the one note, that's the implication.
Yeah, I noticed that. I noticed that there's so much more in your head than just what you hear.
Well, yeah, much like what I always found funny
you
about...
put the shadows in.
You know that movement of... And I always found it amusing when mates of mine would play it just straight power chords, like... It's harmonic, it's not parallel, you know.
I've done this before. This was one of the earliest things I used to do all the time.
In fact, that reminds me of Scrubs for some reason. I can get no sleep. So that is actually 1-5-1-5-1-5 as chords, because you're doing E to B, D to A, C to G.
See, I find that crazy.
Because that's what it is, you know.
Yeah, but how the brain basically fills in what it is sounding like, even though it's not playing the same fucking note.
This is why I think there's argument for all of this like simplistic stuff in electronic music, where you've got a bass line and some drums and some sketchy, vague atmospheric effects or whatever, because you don't have to have all the echelons of extensions of jazz harmony to make it complicated, to make it sound good. You can use 2 or 3 notes really well to push that across, but like Rage Against the Machine, they don't often play full chords. You're not getting triads. You're not getting. It's not a major riff. It's a root note, an octave, and a flat 7. That's all you get.
Yeah.
Is it major? I don't know. They're not heard a third yet.
I think that's better though, because it gives, well, for me at least, it at least allows me to play a lot more songs in the same space.
Yeah.
Because if I, as you said earlier, you don't want to hear the whole 7 notes in one song anyway, especially not in order. That was a big problem I had for a very long time, was when I first learned how to actually play through the scale.
That's all you can do.
I couldn't break out of.
Right, free
no,
of
it's
going.
1 2. Yep, but 1 2 4 1 2 4 1 3 4 1. Yeah. So
that's, I mean, even going back to what we were playing earlier on, like that's where my brain starts to forget shapes, and it's still hanging on to intervals. I know which one I want to shine a light on, brighter than like other ones, but I'm kind of thinking of it within a flurry of notes. And now, instead of thinking, what we E in the moment, I suppose. Oh, it's F, isn't it? Because we're down one, yeah. I try to think, I'll get familiar with where my scale is, and then I'll pick groups of 3 and 4 to mess with. And maybe even try and think about pushing some numbers out through the solos, like accents. That's just 1 followed by 2, and then might do chuck some 3s and 4s in. And then I've made, rather than making the note the interesting bit, it's how many times I'm playing the note that is the interesting bit, and all the other stuff just kind of fits in between, and the other 2 notes are purely now supportive notes to that idea, and I can go, well, here's my 3 notes, and da 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 da, and I'll go up a bit higher that time, and then I'll go a bit lower this time, and whatever it is. And
it's really, do you know what? I'm getting weird sort of vibes, like how there is so much overlap in so many different areas of artistic expression. Like, a lot of the same words you use for talking about music is the same thing for like dancing or like actual drawings and colours and shit.
Because it's not specifically music, it's language, it's expression, isn't it?
But that's what makes me think, okay, there's something fucking going on here, and I would like to figure this shit out, because what it feels like to me, especially when I can follow along to a lot of the shit even without consciously understanding it, but in a lot of ways I can still play along to the chords you're playing, which tells me that there actually is a definable underlining structure to everything. Like, we only just uncover and attempt to express through our each individual experiences, but that almost there has to be like a definite truth of art or something that we can all reach. But
you don't have to be a trained ear. That's what I think you're trying to say. Is you don't have to be a trained ear to pick all this up.
You will hear it even if you can't mention it, and that's everything. We always experience the same thing almost.
And this is what I'm trying. I think it's becoming clearer now. Is that I was always trying to explain that once you've become the scientist and you've figured out the formulas and the patterns and all of this sort of stuff, it's really hard not to just vomit science back at people.
Yeah.
And to actually take it, like, this is where we sit in our spaces, where you've always said that deer in the headlights sort of feeling of going, I don't know what fucking hell's going on. Yeah. And I'm sat there going, well, let me show you this, so that's that, and this is that, and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm going, but I'm envious of what you've got, because you've got the wonder, you've got the mystery and the joy of, the fuck was that chord? It's like, well, that was just a sort of 7-sharp 5 or that's that scale, and you're like, it brings me no surprise and no joy in that sense. But to sort of stumble across stuff in that sense, it's that, I think what you're hitting on is that description of art rather than science. And there's something in art which is kind of followable to a simple person, and understandable
it's
to
universal,
all.
but there is a universal truth to it somewhere.
Because like with most things that get really technical, you have to be really learned and educated in that sort of field to really understand that lecture or whatever it was. But that's what I think the brilliant power of good music is that you don't need to be trained, you just need to feel it. And that's where I think it's simple. Inject the emotion into what you're doing and people will feel it. If, like I'm finding with a lot of the people that I check out as, you know, small-timer singer-songwriters and what have you, I'm like, your production's great, you've got the video, great. But what I'm not feeling is any sort of emotion that I can connect to or relate with.
I found the opposite. I found some people who've just got shitty fucking camera, and then you can see them leaning their phone against something, and then they play some shit, and I'm like, wow, you know, you may not even be the best singer, but that's 100%.
But it made you stay and watch the whole thing. That's my point. Is it's just because you've got the best production in the world doesn't mean it's a good song.
Yeah.
And I think that's that world we seem to have slipped into at the moment of the production is more important than the package. And I'm going, in my head, there's a reason why nobody seems to talk about this out loud, but that sort of 2005 top of the hill, everything's kind of gone down from here. I mean, I feel that 1960 to 2005-ish is about the sort of pop music defining decades, and there's not much in the last 15 years that has become a classic, or as an artist who has become a household name in some way, and not like Madonna or Michael Jackson. Or
I think part of it is the internet, obviously, because it basically affords the whole idea of independent niches. It does the case of when you have not got the internet, you all rely on the same sources for your shared validation of what is good, right? You listen to the TV about who's popular on Top of the Pops or whatever, so you get already the top echelon of the top echelon if you're getting to hear about them at that stage. Therefore, you have already got the best of the best at everyone's attention. So one of them, because it's the degree, it's I can't remember the ratio, the golden ratio, Fibonacci sequence about the spread of success and just anything, massive stars, the speeds of anything, the number of successful people in an industry is defined by this Fibonacci sequence, the ratio. So if you've now got the top echelons have now been shown to the whole country and they've only got a few people to select from, then they're going to find the best one because they've not got the largest selection like we do now. Now you'll find someone who fits all of your criteria and they could only be, you know, small-time fish, which, you know, I at least feel encouraged for myself and yourself, because this is the opportunity that most people can now get into. And I've been watching some of your videos.
Oh right, okay.
I've been keeping curious about what your plan is, because obviously I think a lot about how you actually have to treat it like an actual algorithm and shit. I like what you're doing with the old game stuff.
Yeah.
You've got to be clever about this thing, about, you know, you can't just put exactly, oh, this is what I feel like I want to do today. In a lot of ways you kind of do have to keep an eye on the trends in this particular area. And I think doing covers and even the technical stuff, if you like, for the old game stuff is very clever, because it's a niche.
I've had some good responses to that, actually.
Because it is a niche.
But partly just because I think, well, I can't be any more authentic than just playing along to it as best as I can. And yeah, I've had a little rehearsal with it, but I've not learnt it inside out. And the whole point is to show people that I don't really know it at the beginning, and by the end I have figured it out, and that it's possible to do that. And so you can do, there's just what I'm thinking of in the top corner, and it doesn't have to be complicated.
I'll tell you one thing that I figured out, right? I was thinking about why I watch certain people for a topic that I'm interested in over others. And ultimately, I think this is where you're going to benefit, because you do have the knowledge and expertise, is you like to see people in your field play within the boundaries, but stretch them as far as possible within the confines of the regular rule set. So, for example, if I'm watching someone who plays a particular game, I'm going to watch the person who knows that shit inside out, because they can fuck around with it and I get to see things I'm not normally going to see. So I think that's what you should be doing with your YouTube stuff. Like, for example, taking a song and just going, no, this is a popular song played in Hungarian minor.
Right, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because that's the expertise, and it's something no one's going to get to see because they haven't got that expertise.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of niche that you can break into.
Well, I'll tell you for why I did those video games was that the first one I did was to elicit a response from the guy who wrote the original track.
Oh, right.
I know he subscribes to me on YouTube already. He's a guy called Jero Entel.
He actually wrote the songs for Sonic the Hedgehog?
Not Sonic the Hedgehog, the Cybernoid from the Commodore 64, the previous one I did.
Oh, right.
And he commented on it, and he was just like, wow, this is like mind-blowing to see, like, you know, my bass lines played on a bass or whatever. And I was just like, well, yeah, I have questions too, you know, how it was recorded, why it's fucking flat or whatever it is, and all of this. We had a bit of a chat on YouTube about it. And then the next one I did was the Sonic one. I was careful to make sure I tagged the name of the composers as well, make sure that if they search for themselves it'll come up, or what have you. I haven't had a result from Nakamura or whatever his name is, two of them who wrote Sonic, but that there, just going, well, I want to do something that is like a cover version that isn't surrounded by copyright for some reason. Video game music doesn't appear to have...
It's still technically under copyright, but you'll rarely ever have any claims on it, because I think they understand that that's how you keep your game alive in the zeitgeist. You have to have people just posting about it. That's where Nintendo has fallen down a lot. So be careful about Nintendo stuff. Like
well,
Mario.
I mean, I'm still trying to go with vintagey sort of Commodore.
Yeah, you'd probably
Sega,
get away with it even if it was like old Mario, but I know that Nintendo nowadays, they don't let people... They will copyright strike a lot of things. Mostly, obviously, game footage, but this is quite notorious.
Well, yeah, again, like, the purpose is not to extort money out of people through watching adverts.
No,
on
it's
either,
not.
So
They just take it down. That's what I say. Is
Well,
they'll
I've
just get
done-
rid of your video instead. They won't care about the adverts. They will just take your video down.
Well, it's
So
like the
they'll
cover
waste
thing
your
I did
effort.
with the shred along to the metal tunes. That's still up there, but it's obviously down as a sort of copyright claim or whatever it is. But I thought the other reason I wanted to do those videos was to start practicing talking to the camera. Like, I've realised that everything I do is just like typical introverted sort of musician things. Like, right, start the camera, we're jamming, yeah? So I don't talk, we jam, yeah? And I'll play my thing, 45 minutes later I'm done, swap the camera, and it's like there's no talking whatsoever. But there's me in front of the camera, and people get to see what I'm like, my body movements and all that sort of language, rather, and that sort of thing, which the loop stuff people have got appreciation for. But I think the next level is, like I learned with being a guitar player and a bass player. Well, yeah, but the singer gets the most attention. So I think the same theory is at play, where the person who talks to the camera gets more attention than the person who just sits here and plays. And especially decapitated guitarists.
Yeah,
you know, it's,
even the only good decapitated guitarists are the ones who still talk. So... I think it is a personality thing.
well, yeah, but it helps if you're confident enough to put your face in there.
Yeah.
Which, like the decapitated guitarist, shows that they're not there yet.
Honestly, and this is the thing, because I always, maybe it's just in my head, but I always say that I don't really want to be like recognised famous. So if I ever was to do this YouTube stuff, I want to try and avoid actually having my face out there, just in case, for whatever reason, I do become ridiculously famous that would impact my life. See what I mean? I just, that's a stupid thing in my head just to not do it. But ultimately, and I victim to the same thing, you only watch people you can actually see. Like, you do want a person, you do want some human connection, you don't like a decapitated head all the time, and if not, it's got to be fucking good. Like it's
Well,
gotta
it's
be,
even the humble cover video itself has changed for me since I started doing covers on YouTube, and I watch covers now just to see not the notes being played or the song being done properly or whatever. It's more
go smoke.
yeah. But more. So what you're getting out of this? So you spent all this time, got all these multiple angles of whatever else it is, and you've not got your head in the frame or whatever, and now you're just chucking your cover version into the big ocean of everyone else's cover versions. And what have you actually achieved? I mean, I used to believe there was a point to doing covers on YouTube before, but now I solidly don't. Alright, so you put... Everyone uploads their cover version of Master of Puppets.
But it's all the same. It's just the same.
But
And they don't change it.
Yeah, well, it's not even about that, because a cover version is about trying to reproduce the original as closely as possible, as my eyes, unless you're far better than the original player and you piss all over it.
I like to fuck around with the shit.
Well, yeah.
Like I've got a one that I do, the Polyphia one. I'll play that thing. I don't know if I've shown you. Did I show you Polyphia Go? The one that sounds like...
I don't know him by name.
The one that sounds like...
I've heard that, yeah.
I like to do it like...
Well, that's cool. That's taking inspiration, isn't it, and doing your own version of it.
To be honest, that's what I think that...
But if you were going to film a thing that was playing along to the record or whatever...
I don't subscribe to that.
No, it's my point. It's like, well, what's the point in doing that now? So you spend your entire life doing all the covers under the sun.
Yeah.
And you've got an entire YouTube channel full of covers and that no one's watching.
Mm.
And it's like, well, what are you doing it for? That's my point. What we're doing, like... write your own shit and get better at it,
Yeah. I am of the opinion that if you can play music, it's almost like your duty to contribute to the totality of creativity that humanity can produce.
Well, another thing as well, legacy. So when you leave this planet, a cover version or a tribute band, no one remembers Jeff, who played David Gilmour in Pink Floyd tribute band.
Yeah.
You remember David Gilmour?
Yeah, I'd rather be sort of my own independent with maybe like 100 people in a gig that's come to see me specifically, rather than a couple thousand at a tribute band or whatever.